Right, 13. Segment AD, right? Segment AD bisects BC at E. So BC is what's getting cut in half. BC is what's getting split into two congruent pieces, not the other way around. Okay. And then they also say AB, right? AB is perpendicular to BC, that entire thing there. So that means there's a right angle here, okay? And likewise with this one, DC is perpendicular to BC. There's going to be a right angle here. So that's all of my givens. And just like the last problem, the one before that, I said always look for vertical angles or the reflexive property. And here we have vertical angles, right? So if we look at this, it looks like, well, right angles, they're both 90 degrees, therefore they're congruent. There's a pair of congruent angles. These red sides were congruent because that's the definition of a bisector. And then these angles opposite one another, they're vertical angles, and they're congruent because that's the definition of vertical angles. So this is going to be an angle-side angle postulate. It's just a matter of writing it up now. So 1, let's list the givens. AD bisects BC at E. How did I know that? Oh, well, it was given. Check that off. I'm going to clump these together into another given. AB is perpendicular to BC, and DC is perpendicular to BC. And my reason for that is that it's given. Okay. Now I'm going to start to establish some facts, some things we know. Well, based on number 2, based on statement 2, I know that angle B and angle C are right angles. And 3, how do I know that? Oh, that's the definition of perpendicular. I'd like you to write it out. I'm going to abbreviate for the sake of brevity. 4. Well, if they're right angles, then they're obviously congruent to one another, right? So there's an angle that I'm establishing. And how do I know that? Well, all right angles are congruent, okay? And then the next thing we did in our diagram was that BE, that red segment, is congruent to CE. Right, there's a side. And how did I know that? Well, that was the definition of a bisector. And that's my first statement, right? I state that AD is bisecting BC, so it creates those congruent pieces. And then my last statement, second to last statement, my last fact, I should say, is that this angle here, AEB, angle AEB, must be congruent to angle DEC, this angle here, DEC. Right, that's another angle, because they're vertical angles. All right, and then putting it all together, I'm allowed to say that 7, triangle ABE is congruent to triangle DCE, and because of the angle-side angle postulate. Boom.